we are back once again. It's Friday. The Premier League preview is here. And yes, we have to talk about Manchester United. Yes, we have to talk about the Galatasaray defeat. And yes, we're going to be working out whether Marcus Rashford needs to be dropped. We've got a lot of big decisions to make, guys. Get all your thoughts in the comments. As always, we'll know what you're feeling as a Manchester United fan right now. And of course, by the end of the stream, we're all going to feel a little bit better. There's time for us to rant. There's time for us to rave. There's time for us to talk about Manchester United. So don't worry about that, guys. If the stream is a little choppy for you, just give it a little refresh and it should be absolutely fine. But Manchester United are in a bit of a spot. No senior centre-halves, no left-back. There's real issues at the football club. And I think one of the biggest things United need to really resolve is kind of getting back to, playing with the strongest 11. It's been a massive problem. We've not seen Manchester United at full strength this season, which is a bit of a bad thing. So I think going forward and looking at what United need to do, I think there's lots of different things Manchester United need to do, but it kind of has all got to start with players getting their fitness back. United are in a problem now where the transfer window doesn't open until January. This is the nature of what's happened. And it's super frustrating, it really is. And when you look at the issues of Manchester United, like why are Manchester United going through these problems again? And it's a really, really simple thing to answer. If we drop over to the analytics section, like we jump into, we do our analysis, we look at some footage and so forth. This is the real reason why Manchester United are in an absolute state right now. This is the number one reason. The parasites that own the football club, that have set terrible standards throughout the entire business, and quite frankly, they should have left years ago. They shouldn't have even been allowed to buy Manchester United. This is the problem. What you're looking at right now is sheer greed. It's not accepting £5 billion for an asset that you bought for $700 million when you'd basically mortgaged it. This is the massive reason. John Murtough, Arnold being in charge at the top of the football club, those guys should have got sacked. Any real business would have sacked those two guys for ineffective behaviour, for being rubbish at your job. And I think, we point the finger, and we should point the finger at the ownership right now. We also got to point the finger at the potential buyers. If the Qataris want to buy Manchester United, buy Manchester United. If Jim Ratcliffe wants to buy Manchester United, buy Manchester United. And that is the biggest thing. The club is going to be in the same way until this gets fixed. This is the biggest analytical thing. We can't look at passes. We can't look at stats. We can't look at numbers. We can't look at players. This is the big reason. This is where the standards of the institution have been so poor. Hearing stuff this week that you just don't want to hear as a United fan. It's, you're hearing stuff where you've got a lack of staff at Carrington. One of the biggest institutions in the world, guys. It really is. And it's absolutely embarrassing right now to see these guys, fully destroy Manchester United. That's what's happening at the moment. And I think one of the big things as fans is sticking with the player and sticking with the managers. Other way around. Sticking with the players and sticking with the manager. That's all we should do as fans. That is the only thing we could do right now is back the team and support the team. Because all the talk about it online, the booing that's come at Old Trafford, it all just needs to stop. Because there is nothing Manchester United can do unless they remove these guys. And that is it. So all we can do as fans is support the players and support the team. And support the badge. Support the institution. Support Manchester United. These people have come in and ruined one of the greatest things in my life and a lot of your lives. The club is still there. The club is still a thing. So it's all about supporting that and then moving forward. It's a frustration. It's my frustration. It's your frustration. But these are the guys where the frustration should be aimed. It's not at Ten Hag. It's not at Andre Onana. It's not at Marcus Rashford. It's not on Bruno Fernandes. These are the guys. By you doing that and you being frustrated with certain players and certain intricacies, it makes these guys' life a lot easier. They've gone into the background right now because people are talking about sacking Erik Ten Hag, which is absolutely bonkers. Anyway, I thought I'd just bring up some analysis early on in the stream. Get the party started in that. Manchester United are in a precarious position. They're going to the international break with another defeat. There's going to be calls for Erik Ten Hag to get sacked. There's going to be calls for players to get removed. It's going to be absolutely messy. So it's a big thing. But number one, it's a cultural problem, Radu. I absolutely believe that. It's something that's only going to get fixed when it's changed. That's the only thing. So it's a real frustration. It's a frustration for me. It's a frustration for you. It's one of those situations where we can't do anything until somebody comes in and buys it. Cass, Dave, you bang on. The level of toxicity amongst the fan base is awful. Not only that, but journalism. I've deleted and unfollowed most football pages, sports apps because of this. I think that's bang on. I think, look, United are one of the biggest institutions in the world and people will jump on it as soon as it starts to fall. Don't allow them to do that. Don't allow them to make you think something. Like, I know Andre Onana's a good goalkeeper. I know that. I know that he is a good goalkeeper. He is in a bad spot of form. The only way you get through the form is play through the form and get to a good position again. A belief in yourself. A belief in your teammates. That's the only way you're going to get through that. You know, the Erik ten Hag out stuff is bonkers. You know, this is one of the best coaches in European football. If Erik ten Hag can't do it at Manchester United, nobody was going to be able to do it. Mourinho's not been able to do it. Van Gaal's not been able to do it. Ollie's not been able to do it because it's the one thing. Again, going back to our analytics board, it's this. This is the reason. It's got nothing to do with the quality of those managers. It comes at what the club is doing. The recruitment has been awful. I've said it so many times. How many times have I gone on the internet and said, there's just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Remember at the start of the summer, I made my dream transfer window. I replaced 13 players. I got rid of 13 players. 13. You know, there were calls of, Victor Lindelof. I was saying, get rid of Victor Lindelof, buy a young centre-half who can play right back. People were losing their minds. Victor Lindelof, unfortunately, is not at the standard that Manchester United require. Same with Raphael Varane. Both players are still at the football club. They could have been sold in the summer. Both on high wages. Both could have been used to generate income. Benjamin Pavard was on the market. Kim was on the market. It's simple, simple stuff. Frustrating, to say the least. Very frustrating. And when you look at what United have done in terms of the recruitment, they haven't backed Erik ten Hag, because to back Erik ten Hag, you'd have brought in a director of football that knows what they're doing. You know, United signings have been absolutely rubbish. Don't spam the chat, please, guys. Number one rule of the stream: no spamming in the chat. Gonna have to put people in timeout. Don't mind doing that today, guys. I'm on a rampage today. Gonna look at some football today, but we're gonna do it the right way. And I think when you look at what the players that have been signed for Erik ten Hag, overpaid, overpriced, good quality players, but with massive, massive, massive money on their back, which only makes, a problem. It makes a problem for what, you're going to do and how you're going to perform. David De Gea is a prime example of someone that should have left Manchester United a few seasons ago. We all act like David De Gea is the second coming. Should we go and have a look at his post-shot expected goals over the last 5 years? Like, he's underperformed. And when you consider that he's made massive saves in massive games, what does that mean for the rest of it? If he's making huge saves and keeping United in games in certain matches, what about the standards throughout the whole of the rest of it? Like, it's really bad. Like, you look at his numbers here. I'll flash it up on screen now. This is David De Gea, goalkeeper, right? You look at these numbers. These are the post-shot expected goals numbers. When he was 26, so the season that we came second in the Premier League, he had he had one of the best ever seasons a goalkeeper's going to have. He had a plus 12.5 post-shot expected goals model. In the next 5 years, he's had one season that's been a positive. So David De Gea's goalkeeping, in fact, in the last 5 seasons for Manchester United, if we're looking at the average goalkeeper in the Premier League, it's been rubbish. So this going back and being like, okay, cool, get David De Gea back. What are you on about? There was no way that United should have signed David. There was no way that United should have given David De Gea 325 grand a week. Full stop. He wasn't the best goalkeeper in the world, so he shouldn't be commanding that wage. And that is a bad decision. Bad decision. And that's the problem. NND, David De Gea's errors have been errors, but he's been the best keeper for many years. He has been a good goalkeeper, but he has been an underperforming goalkeeper in 4 out of the last 5 years in terms of the league average. This is the mad side of it. Like, it's one of these things where, like, Andre Onana's not going to, is an upgrade on David De Gea. Like, massive upgrade on David De Gea, full stop. It's just one of those things. It's fact. This is fact. This is an analytical model that looks at goalkeeping performance. What do we want to do, guys? Fat Man Dave in the chat from Matt. David De Gea is better than Andre Onana all day. Sterling, sir, you need to maybe have a little look at the possession numbers. the possession stats of David De Gea, the possession performances of David De Gea. Look, we could go even, if we want to go down that kind of train of thought, what happened last season? Do you remember what happened last season? We've got to remember these things. We can't have these short-termism problems. What happened last season is that Brentford beat Manchester United 4-0. 4-0. Do you remember what happened for the second goal in that game? Do we all remember that? The second goal of the game that was scored by Matthias Janssen. Do we remember that? Because I remember that. Go on, someone in the chat. You tell me what happened for this goal. Smash it in. Like, why? This is a big goal to think about in this context right now. Like, I can tell you what it was. David De Gea played a short pass into the feet of Christian Eriksen, and United conceded a goal. Like, that's what happened. Like, we can't ignore it. And look, you know, the big thing with Andre Onana right now is his confidence doesn't look great. The only way that he's going to get through this is either by having a little rest and getting in there, or by playing through it. And that's a big thing. He is a good goalkeeper. Statistically, he's been a good goalkeeper for the last few seasons. He is a good player. But there is obviously a problem at the moment. There's obviously something that's in his head right now. The team is not playing well together. And that is a big, big problem. And whether he needs a rest, I think, is one thing. But moving to kind of our first topic of conversation today. Should Erik ten Hag drop Marcus Rashford from Manchester United's team? I think when we look at this as a situation, Marcus Rashford is a uniquely skilled individual. He's capable of going on the outside on his left foot, on the inside on his right foot, cutting in and shooting, but also his ability to get in and around the box has been why Manchester United were good last season. 30 goals in all competitions. But when we look at the underlying data for Marcus Rashford, he has carried United in that sense. In 2023, in the Premier League, he's got 18 goals plus assists, which is the most of any United player. But the more worrying situation for Marcus Rashford is only Bruno Fernandes has played more minutes for Man United in the Premier League. This, for me, screams out that he's not being rotated enough, and he quite frankly needs a rest. I wouldn't go as far as saying he needs to be dropped, no, but he needs a rest right now. I think he's been playing too much football over the last, year, 2 years. You're thinking about he's come back from a big injury as well, and he's just kind of been thrown straight back in. And yes, his form has been absolutely brilliant, but resting him and rotating, I think that, United have got a good enough player there. Yes, Alejandro Garnacho struggled against Nelson Semedo. There was a bit of an issue against Pedro Porro, but he scored against Palace. He should have scored against Arsenal. We all know the quality that Garnacho has. He's got great ability off the bench. He needs to start turning that from the start. The only way he's going to do that is by playing from the start in certain games, such as this game at the weekend against Brentford. Marcus Rashford should be rested. Alejandro Garnacho should start. And then when you think of that as an idea, Garnacho starts. He's running at their sort of left side of their defence, which again is really open after they've had a bit of an injury problem there. Hickey's not currently playing there instead of Rico Henry. That's a nice matchup that I like for Garnacho. Thinking about that, he tires him, and then you bring on Marcus Rashford off the bench. That is a great strategy. Rashford should be rested this weekend, just to get him back to that top level of form, give him an opportunity to come off the bench, attack it, allow Garnacho to develop a little bit further. That's what United need to do at the moment. But let me know what you think in the chat about that. Those types of ideas, those types of thoughts. RK saying, yes, drop Rashford. He's selfish. I think his decision-making this season has been under what we expect for Marcus Rashford. I think in terms of kind of what he could do a bit better, is play a little bit more on instinct. I think he's thinking a little bit too much. And you go back to kind of how he was coached at Manchester United. He was coached in a way where everything in the academy was all based on instinct, was based on skills, was based on having a book of tricks to beat a man or to create something. I think he needs to go back to that. He needs to start just feeling a bit more confident. And I also think if he gets rested this weekend from the start and comes off the bench, he's going to be playing a fullback that would have had a battle on his hands against Garnacho. And then you've got Marcus Rashford against a fullback that's a little bit more tired. That makes a lot of sense to me. It really does. Just jumping back into the chat, Garnacho and Hannibal will pass to Rasmus in there. Agreed, team is greater than the individual. This is football, full stop. We saw that. A classic example of how a team is better than an individual came this week. We all saw it. PSG in the Champions League, away at St James's Park. They got absolutely battered, 4-1 by a better team. And that's where it comes down to. You look at things in football and you've got a team that contains Jamal Lascelles, Dan Burn, Sean Longstaff, Miguel Almiron. These are all players that have been completely written off in recent years. They beat PSG, containing Ousmane Dembele, Kylian Mbappe, Mouani, and Ramos. This is what football is. It's so important to play as a team and to play as a unit, and that is what United should be is going down that line. And that's where, we have issues of, at the moment where United are really struggling from a perspective of dealing with threats and dealing with issues. They're not playing as a team at the moment. That's one of my big concerns. I think there's some really good possession play, but there's little lapses and moments in concentration, such as this, the Galatasaray first goal, that's so frustrating for me as a Man United fan. When you look at how this goal is scored, this isn't a team right now in a defensive sense. And there's a few issues with United's defensive shape and setup. I think there's a number of issues. Number one, all the good teams in European football are basically defending in a 4-4-2 at the moment. That changes to a diamond when pressing high, but they're defending a 4-4-2. Man City, Arsenal, two classic examples of that in the Premier League. But looking at United's shape and structure, the first issue with only having one forward in this moment is you can't put pressure on the ball if one forward has gone to close the goalkeeper down. Rasmus Hojlund has just gone to shut the keeper down. He's making his way back. This shape that United have got right now is shocking. Somebody needs to be, getting on that pass. That pass is easily telegraphed. Somebody needs to be pressing the football. Because if you don't press the football in this situation and you play a high line, it means one thing. You're going to simply knock a ball over that midfield line. Either you're going to get in behind the defence or you're going to win that second ball. Obviously, for Galatasaray, it's an absolute mess. Rafael Varane gets caught underneath it. Diogo Dalot gets a little outmuscled by Wilfried Zaha, and it's a goal. But this position right now, this is ridiculous. Like, what is this as a defensive structure? Like, it's an absolute mess. Like, it's shocking from the defensive line, the midfield line. And again, as I mentioned before, United should be pressing with 2 foot. Like, you should not be allowed to play that ball from there. That clip pass from the mid-block. You can't have this. This cannot happen. How many examples we want teams? Remember Liverpool when they fell off a cliff last year, right? The year before. One of the big reasons why they were absolutely stinking was because they were playing a high line. They had no pressure on the ball. We're 1-0 up, 20 minutes into the game. We allow Davinson Sanchez the freedom of Old Trafford to clip a ball over the defence. Obviously, the defence is also really poorly organised. The clip just before this, Victor Lindelof is far too, pushed to the left-hand side. Obviously, Amrabat here is now not goal side of his attacker. Well, the issue here is, Amrabat isn't a left-back. This guy, the Moroccan Pirlo, needs to play in central midfield for United. But this screenshot in itself, this sums up United's issues from a collective and individual defensive perspective at the moment. No pressure on the football, ball over the top, don't deal with it. There's just no way. There is no way that United should concede off this. In no world. But they did. They did concede off this, which made everyone's Tuesday night absolutely fantastic. Luckily I was on a plane flying back from Lisbon, but I landed to the great news of Manchester United's defeat. And when you look at the game, this is one example of them, lacking aggression, lacking that team cohesion. But the players should be good enough. We go a bit further to kind of the next goal. It's the same thing where United are in 2023 and we still have Rafael Varane and Victor Lindelof playing centre half for us. Like, this is a big problem. Like, recruitment is a massive issue. I can't highlight this enough. Erik ten Hag is a manager. He's a coach. He needs to be a manager that gets players from a director of football. This is exactly how Ajax worked with Mark Overmars. He wasn't that involved in player recruitment. He'd have a sign-off, yes, he'd speak to the director of football. They had a great relationship. United at the moment don't have that. So we're left with Raphael Varane and Victor Lindelof. No left-back. And a midfielder that shouldn't really be starting for United right now. It's simple. And this goal is a nutshell of what United are right now. You know, can't blame Amrabat for that. I'm just sorry. I'm not going to do it because he's playing out of position. He's trying to do a job for the team. But then this duel, losing that duel from Victor Lindelof, it's reminiscent of the FA Cup final where he doesn't win that first ball or the second ball that bounces down. Kevin De Bruyne beats him in the air. It's just so easy to turn him. You know, you can't have that in any level of European football. You've just been turned. Now you've got a humongous problem. Now, you've got a 3v2 on the back line. Now we've got a big issue. What are we going to do? How are we going to adjust this? Well, technically, if I'm kind of coaching from this perspective, I want Raphael Varane to defend the near post. I want Amrabat to be the one that's going to be dealing with the forward motion. Again, Raphael Varane is in a shocking position. It's shocking. It's not to the man. It's not defending that near post. It's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. Like it's individual decision making. What Victor Lindelof, right? Where is he in this position? He is goal side of this man. He is currently goal side of the attacking midfielder that scores. What's happened? Like, this is just a general, it's almost like professionalism. It's wanting to win. Like, you've let the guy go, Victor. You've been done. You've then been run off. Like, again, my question, how do you coach that? How do you coach that? This is basic defending. You'd argue that he's challenging with his wrong foot. You'd argue that he's in a really bad position there. Like he's almost allowed, Icardi to spin off him. Like, that's really bad defending. If you're gonna go in that position, and you're gonna be aggressive. You've got to foul the guy. You can't let him to just a turn, and then you can't track the runner. Then Raphael Varane don't make a bad decision, and it's a tapping. It's so it's so close to. It goes through his legs. Like, what are you supposed to... Again, what is Andre Onana supposed to do here? It's like... He's right in the penalty area. It is the simplest goal to score. So we're going to blame Andre Onana for that one. We can blame Andre for the next one, don't get me wrong, or the penalty decision. This isn't great. And again, United structure and build-up just sometimes really stinks. It gives Andre Onana literally one pass. It's really smart from Dries Mertens. He telegraphs it, but Raphael Varane in this position, is he in a position ready to receive the possession? What's Victor Lindelof? Victor Lindelof's, you go and hit the DM. This isn't a position to receive. So what other option does he have apart from going long? United have got to score a goal in this game. It's 2-2 at the moment. And yeah, it's an underhit pass, and he doesn't shine himself in glory. Does Casemiro need to dive in here? No. Could Casemiro stay on his feet here? Yes. He makes up the distance, Casemiro, to be fair to him. He makes up the distance. But he dives in, cleans him out. What are you supposed to do? I don't know. There's so many of those what are you supposed to do moments that are incredible. I've got to laugh about this or I'm going to cry. But the third Galatasaray goal's even funnier. Oh, this is one of the biggest, the funny, but this one's the funniest one, guys. Look, everyone got to laugh at it. We just got to laugh at it. You got to just get it off our chest. But this is the worst one. This one for me is absolutely stinking. So United have just had a corner, right? It's been defended, and this is Raphael Varane up here. Raphael Varane. In this position, right? There's just no determination or there's just no transition. It's shocking. Garnacho plays back. Amrabat. Right. Victor Lindelof is also not in the correct position. We're trying to reset here. Why is he so high? It literally gives Amrabat. What is he supposed to do? Like, what pass is he supposed to play? Your centre-half is just jogging back. There's no heart. There's no determination here. There is nothing. It's rubbish. Victor Lindelof is in... You get into a ball support position. What are you doing? What would Nathan Ake do? What would Akanji do? What would Gvardiol do? What would Ruben Diaz do in these positions? I'll tell you what, they wouldn't be in central midfield right now, not being a ball option for the left-back. Like, this goal just absolutely sums up, like, the problems. Like, it's basic decision-making. It's hunger. That's all it is. You know, Amrabat pops the ball into midfield. We're in a terrible position. How is Amrabat the deepest player here? How is he the deepest player? Like, why are we not getting back into shape? We've had a corner. Yeah, cool. Get back into shape. If you're not going to get back into shape, then don't go up for corners. Simple as that. If you're not going to put the effort in, it's embarrassing. It's proper embarrassing. Considering it's 10 men as well, you should be putting more effort into this position. Have you seen Liverpool recently? When they've gone down to 10 men, they've absolutely switched it on. They really have. But that is just shocking. What are you supposed to do? Like, the ball bounces 3 times. And he's clean through. Like, again, it's a nice little finish, but you can't be going down on your feet there, Andre. Look, we're here to defend you, Andre, but this isn't good enough. You know, you can't get dinked there. But quite frankly, it's like, it comes from it. This is the position where the goal's conceded, independent of whether Icardi dinks him or slides it past him or whatever. Like, this is where the goal's conceded. A real lack of determination to get back from both of the centre-backs from Manchester United. Lazy. Absolutely lazy. Not good enough. Not good enough to where United need to be and what they want to be. Nowhere near good enough. That's it. Richard, you can feel the pain in Dave's laugh. Our pressing and hunger stinks. Absolutely, Richard. The shape of the pressing and everything needs to be adjusted as well. The compactness of this pressing is poor. We don't squeeze a touch line, which is poor. These are all things that I fundamentally believe in pressing. Cutting down space, boxing off on the side of the pitch. Manchester United at the moment in their defensive structure, they literally sit in a halfway house mid-block in a narrow 4-2-3-1. Like, what are we doing here? Like, my whole belief, my entire belief about pressing is forcing your opponents down one side. Then you squeeze over. The entire team squeezes over. And this is what it should really be. You know, it's basic. How many times have you seen United get caught out by this pass or that pass? And then instantly they play through. Instantly they get the attacker and instantly they're on the attack. It's just slow. Rubbish. Gotta be better. You just have to be better. And again, like, if this is Erik ten Hag's instructions, Erik ten Hag needs to be better in this part of the play because this at the moment is a massive issue. Amongst all the other things, like, he can't deal with Raphael Varane and Victor Lindelof not giving a shit. If Victor Lindelof and Raphael Varane can't be asked on the 80th minute to run back into defensive position after a corner, what is he supposed to do about that? I don't know. I really don't know, guys. They should. The setup, every other team is 4-4-2. However we do it, whether it's Hannibal and Hojlund, Bruno, this is how we should be set. And we should be squeezing teams down one flank, and then we should engage. Engage near side. The whole idea of pressing, how I see pressing in these moments, is squeeze over. So the ball is in this left corner. We force it over to this side. We squeeze. We're then super aggressive on this ball side. So Mount is super aggressive. It's almost like a diamond. You're tucked in. The far side winger is tucked in. Your back four, the left back, super aggressive. Left centre back, super aggressive on the player. So basically, you could get to a point where Rashford might, after, let's say, Hojlund squeezed the ball that way, Rashford goes put pressure on the ball, Amrabat jumps onto the fullback, then Lindelof jumps onto the winger. Consequently, Rafael Varane tucks in, Diogo Dalot tucks in, gives it the defensive side depth. This is my idea of how you should press in the 4-4-2. I could go into depth about this. Did a presentation on Manchester City for a Premier League side last year about City's 4-4-2. It's so good, but that's what you should be doing right now. It's the best one. It really is. And we don't do this. The whole idea, in my eyes, which comes from Jurgen Klopp, which comes from, it comes from Pep Guardiola, you've got to cut the pitch. You've basically got to turn it into a small-sided game. So the whole idea is you're cutting the pitch in half. So you're playing in one tiny bit. And yeah, if they work out a switch, cool. Then, of course, you bust a gut. You transition, you drop back. There's methodology how to get back into position from that happening. But you have to squeeze. You have to squeeze it together. You can't just sit in the middle and wait for passes to come inside. I just don't think that's a good methodology. I really don't. Not for me. It's just not. This is kind of the fundamentals of gegenpressing with Jurgen Klopp. And that's what I really believe in it. And it's, if you get bypassed, it's throwing a player out, it's tucking inside into a back three. It's all really simple things that we just don't see with Man United at times. The last 10 years. Oh, God, I miss Ferguson. I miss Ralph Rangnick as well. Oh, jeez, guys. Okay, thanks, Dave. Got to get back to work, but thanks. Always been easy to watch. You make some sense, even though it's hard watching United. It is very, very hard to watch United right now. Man, I can't reveal that information. Chapsky, I love Dave's passion for pressing. I absolutely love pressing. I think it's a brilliant thing. I just hate my team doesn't do it. Kills me. Wayne, I prefer blocking pass channels and forcing the opposition to only pass backwards or sideways. Again, that's absolutely fine. That works out. Mahad, apparently Qatar want to bring in Rangnick, Paul Mitchell and Van der Sar to rehold the ball. They, again, like we mentioned before, they can pretend to do what all they want to do right now. They need to get it done. But that would be great, Mahad. That would be really, really good. But it does need a massive change. The football club needs a humongous change. There's just so much that's up in the air. That's garbage. And quite frankly, I'm sick to death of it. I'm sick to death of the lack of performance in individual mistakes. I think United are actually playing quite well at the moment. Like, if we think about that game against Galatasaray in the first half, United had some very, very good opportunities in the first half. Like, some really good chances, to kind of roll through some of those chances in the first half. It starts from Bruno Fernandes on 2 minutes. That is a chance inside the penalty area. Great chance. Go further. Obviously the Hojlund goal. Casemiro from outside the box. No. Mason Mount inside the box that got blocked. We had another Mason Mount inside the box that hit Hannibal Mejbri. We had the Amrabat chance from outside the area that was a pretty good shooting opportunity. Again, you had Bruno Fernandes from a wide position. But there was enough chances. I think both those the 2 Mount chances were big. So that's 2 goals that United should have scored. And then you've also got the Bruno Fernandes one on 2 minutes. Like, United should have gone into half-time 3-1 up. And if we go to the second half, the Hojlund goal that was offside, they're not playing badly. It's just individuals. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, half-time, am I fighting someone? You know what I mean? Like at full-time, if that happens, where we've conceded the 2 goals we conceded, like, Roy Keane's kicking off. It's just sloppy. Really, really sloppy. But let's move on to the positives, guys. We're not here to just be frustrated and be angry at all times. It is now time to talk about the boy wonder. Rasmus Hojlund looks everything that Manchester United need. The striker that United have been crying out for. Rasmus Hojlund against Galatasaray was absolutely brilliant. Both of his goals, absolutely outstanding. In terms of just the finishing quality, and I think that's something that United have lacked for a while, that composure in the box. Even his goal that he scored that was ruled out for offside, the way that he slipped back inside with a little bit of feet was brilliant. And I think with Rasmus Hojlund, he's only going to get better in terms of his quality. I think the big thing that I like about Hojlund is he is a ball carrier. And that's something that's kind of unique about him. He is really good in the dribble, and we saw that showcase. The chance he created for Bruno Fernandes, he basically drove wide into the channel, left-hand side, low cross into the box that Bruno Fernandes should have scored. But real quality in those moments. But I do think it's in the penalty area where United are going to get that joy. It's that little shift, a little shimmy, and then the finish that's been so good with Rasmus Hojlund right now. Look at the Champions League. Joint top scorer with Julian Alvarez. That the whole world is singing about Julian Alvarez right now. Rasmus Hojlund is on par with him in the Champions League. United need to create a better quality of chance at a more consistent level, and Rasmus Hojlund is going to be the one. I really believe that. I think he's got so much to his game, and he's only going to get better under Erik ten Hag. Well, we've got our first donation in the chat as well for today's stream. Hojlund will become a star. I absolutely believe that. Rasmus Hojlund is a player of really fine quality. And when you kind of you look at some of the things he's already done for United, the goals he's already scored, the movement, really, really good. There's so much to like. And, when you're looking at how United are playing at the moment, it really suits Rasmus Hojlund. Big shout out to Carlos in the chat as well for that donation. Obviously, we read his comment out. Hojlund will be a star. But let's jump back into a little analysis from a Hojlund perspective. His quality in and around the penalty area is big, but his movement off the ball is good. For me, Manchester United are playing some good stuff at the moment. At times they are a little bit too direct, but this is a moment where the direct play is quite good. It's a good sort of identification of a transitional moment. Galatasaray in possession, dropping a ball. Obviously, Rafael Varane combines with Victor Lindelof, drops it to Casemiro. I think the big thing with Casemiro at times he's a little sloppy in possession. His decision-making needs to be a lot better. We know that he's got this in his locker. The ball that he played over the top here, the clip pass to Marcus Rashford in behind is fantastic. Really, really good clip pass. But there's other times where he needs to play the smarter pass, the safer option, to retain possession. United need to improve when they've got the ball to create more pressure, to create more chances. But anyway, we're talking Rasmus Hojlund. Rashford spinning in behind. The support play is very, very good. One thing that we highlighted, I think a week ago, Rasmus Hojlund will consistently make these runs in the box. This is different to what Man United have had for so long. Rashford should have found him, I think, in one of the games twice that he played together. Found him this time. Good ball into the box. Fantastic header for Hojlund. First goal against Galatasaray. But it moved forward in terms of, I think this is more impressive. This is a goal that he's created out of absolutely nothing. United defending their own half, squeezing Galatasaray back, and as soon as that pass is played, he's jumped onto it. Brilliant first touch outside, and this is what I love about him as a forward. He's unique in this sense. Haaland has the pace off the ball, Hojlund has the pace on the ball and off the ball. That would be the slight difference between the two. I think at the moment, obviously, Haaland is a better goal scorer, and if Hojlund wants to improve, would just watch Haaland play. I think some of his movement to the back post is phenomenal, really simple but really good. At the same time, I don't think Haaland's quite got this level of pace. You basically taking the ball from the halfway line, sprinting past the defender, and this finish, the little dink, absolutely fantastic. And look, we're applauding the Hojlund finish here, the little dink over the goalkeeper. We were criticising Andre Onana for getting dinked a second ago. We've got to make it fun. But that's the quality that he's got. It's a level of stardom that United need. For me, this signing is a great signing. The price is far too much, but I don't care if you spend that money on someone that's 20 years old. I really don't mind. And when you're looking at what United are doing and so forth, and kind of how they're looking to build for the future, which is exactly what they're doing. I've said this many a times. United shouldn't be buying right now players. That is a waste of our time. We are nowhere near competitive enough to play for the Premier League. We should be signing young players. Rasmus Hojlund is the model. The issue is that United are just like all over the place with that, right? So you sign one player that's 20 years old for £75 million. You've bought an ageing midfielder the season before. You've got an ageing centre-half for another season before. There is no strategy, and that is why John Murtough and the rest of whoever's on the board of making these transfer decisions, they all need to get sacked. They're just simply not good enough. They're really not. The strategy is almost like we're gonna get this. We're gonna get it so off the hip. Where's the precision? Whereas looking at that young lad and going, right, we're going to sign that young lad. Big potential. Imad Diallo, great signing. Hojlund, great signing. They've probably been two of our better signings in recent years. Hey, ay caramba. Today's a wild one, guys. Hojlund is extremely effective as a target man as well. He can be a false nine as well. Very versatile from tails. Dan's saying Varane's our best centre-half. There's no way we should consider selling him. Danny's absolutely garbage. I would sell him in a heartbeat. That's my decision that I would make. Never would have bought the guy. Would have signed a youthful centre-half like Sven Botman, as I've made about 12 videos on in the past. But Man United didn't do that. You got to get rid of him. Varane isn't good enough to play for Man United right now. Not good enough in possession. Defensively, not good enough at the moment. And he is not acting like a leader at the moment. There's 3 reasons why I would bin him. Don't fit Ten Hag's style. Doesn't fit what we want to do with possession. You you remember the analysis of the Wolves game where the entire analysis was built around the lack of ball progression from the right-hand side of the defence. Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Raphael Varane. It wasn't just Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is a good final third player. Good off-the-ball player as a right-back for me. Great defender, great off the ball. Don't have him in the build-up. Raphael Varane was the other issue there. My thoughts. If you don't agree with them, that's absolutely fine. Dave with the great Trossard impersonation there. Lovely stuff. Anyway, let's get back to the main man we're talking about. This is a good move from Manchester United in the second half. This is kind of the football that we want to see. You know, good depth to it, good width to it, and some good sort of possession play. When we're breaking down kind of, United under Erik ten Hag, it is these kind of like 3 forwards in the middle with 2 wide players. Bruno and Rashford are the 2 wide players in this instance. We've got Casemiro, Mason Mount and Hojlund as the forwards. Ball into the feet of Diogo Dalot, back to Casemiro. Great little pass from Christian Eriksen over the top. Obviously, along the deck's not going to work. It's going to get cut out. So he invents a pass, little clip pass. Casemiro with a good first touch. Again, we mentioned this previously. Box-to-box Miro needs to happen more. Sick of seeing him in the defensive midfield position, but unfortunately United have got no left back, so the Moroccan Pirlo can't play that role yet. This is great from Casemiro. Great awareness, slipped inside to Mount. Mount clips the ball to Hojlund, and then this is why I love what Rasmus is going to become. This finish is simply sublime. The way that he sells the defender with a little feint back inside, and then the high finish into the roof of net. This guy has serious quality. Serious quality in these situations. Very, very good. And that's what United need to do. And then the celebration. This is a player that is a United player. Absolutely a Manchester United player. A Man United fan. There's nothing more I want to say about this guy apart from, please buy Evan Ferguson, Manchester United, so we can see both of them play together as a front 2. I would absolutely love to see that. Jumping back into the chat. What else have we got? Aidan, do you think United should let a long-term fan photographer give a team talk on Saturday? Maybe. Royston in the chat. Why does Erik ten Hag not change the defensive structure 4-4-2? Isn't that something he would see? Love him, but this is what making me be worried about his coaching. Yes, I think he should change. I don't know why he's not changed. It's something that I would, if I could speak to him, that's what I'd speak to him. 100%. Alex, Recruitment needs to transfer out of United. Absolutely. They need to be sold and never be brought back. Chapsky, should I get him in FPL? You know what? Not a bad shout. Jack, once we've got Maino and Ahmad back, oh my God, we'll witness some more greatness on top of Hojlund. Yes, I hope so. And again, more young players. This is what we want to see as United fans. I don't care about anything else. Just get young lads in. That's what the club's built on, youth. Not buying old players that have, Galacticos that have already done it. No, thank you. Get the young lads. Get the 20-year-olds in there. It's the way to go. It really is. And obviously, I mentioned Rasmus Hojlund. His numbers great against Galatasaray. Had the goal that was ruled out for offside. But had 30 touches. Completed 3 out of his 3 dribbles. Again, that dynamic element we spoke of before that is different to Haaland, I'd say, is better than Haaland. 2 shots, 2 goals. Create this guy more chances. He will score goals. He is a bagsman. We know he is. An absolute bagsman. Composed in the penalty area. Big celebrations. That's what we love to see. United have finally got that striker that they've needed for a while. Moving to the kind of game against Brentford. Manchester United in recent years have really struggled against Brentford and how to break them down. They are a very, very good football team under Thomas Frank. They excel in their defensive organisation, in the transition, but they also excel from set pieces, which is a bit of a worry for Manchester United right now. United have been pretty woeful from set pieces, attacking and defensive this year for me. And what United need to really, really work on and deal with in this game, I think, is stopping, Brentford get a bit of momentum in terms of their pressing high. I think United could technically go long for the first part of the game, but also in terms of, dealing with the added threat from set pieces, you've got to control that area. So in terms of the setup from both sides, it will be a back five for Brentford. They do play a back five. Thomas Frank's spoken about this on Monday Night Football, how they do switch to a back five in possession, which leaves a couple of conundrums for Manchester United. It will be a kind of flat five and a three in midfield. They will have the two strikers that will look to hit the channels and attack. I think it's going to be a big game for Diogo Dalot and Rafael Varane dealing with Visser's movement, because as soon as Brentford win the ball back, they could look for that ball over the top. Either to Visser, alternates behind Amrabat and Burmo. That is the real threat. I think the start concern for United is obviously the build-up play. Right now, United's structure looks a little bit off. I think when you're playing against a team like Brentford that are going to split you, that are going to squeeze high, the issue that you've got is they jump very, 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 very well. We've already spoken about the David De Gea stinker to Christian Eriksen into his feet. Obviously, Janssen robbed him and so forth. So, one of these things, these games would potentially at the start of it is to look long. Brentford will basically, from this sort of this set piece, as we should call it, will go 3v3 at the back. So for Manchester United, building with a back four is probably what they need to do. They need to take that Brighton model, building with a 4-2. The two forwards need to be dropping deep. United need to be creating this midfield block that we've seen Brighton do over and over again. This midfield square where you can draw pressure in but play through it because you've got an overload in that area. If we just work that one out, United have got an overload in that position, 4v3. That's what United need to do. They also need to build with these fullbacks in deep positions to draw these wing-backs on, which consequently will create massive space for Fernandes and Marcus Rashford in behind. Obviously, we know the pace of Rasmus Hojlund. He can catch up on that counter-attack. But I think the big thing is playing that back four from the build-up, drawing them on, and then playing over. I'd like to see at the start of the game, first sort of 10, 15 minutes of the game, is Diogo Dalot just pinging balls down the channel to Bruno Fernandes and Amrabat doing exactly the same on the other side to Marcus Rashford. Just keep pulling those wide centre-backs into those areas. Because what you'll see is the Brentford team start to drop off, which makes there's even more space for Norgard to deal with. And there's even more space for Janel and Janssen to deal with in the transition. They're going to press high, then they're going to have to drop low. But if you start to force those outside centre-backs back, it creates more space in the midfield. And that's a key concept the United aren't getting right now. We don't use long passes from the start of games to open up space. It was a classic thing that Ferguson used to do. First 10, 15 minutes of games, clip balls into the channels. Turn the defenders. Oh, wait, Paul Scholes got loads of space now. Michael Carrick just dominating the midfield. Like, these types of things United need to start to do. And whether that comes from the fullbacks or alternatively, straight from Andre Onana. I don't want to see any of this in the first 10 minutes of games. No short passes into the feet. First 15, 20 minutes, clip balls over the top. Even change it up. Crazy idea, guys. Why not play Bruno Fernandes in that central position and Rasmus Hojlund from the right wing at the start of the game? Why not test it out? Why not go with that? Obviously, Anthony's ready for, apparently ready to come back to the first team. I don't really understand why that is, but hey, that's life. Either Hojlund or Anthony in that position, spinning in behind, but really start to stretch Brentford. Do things that's really uncomfortable about Brentford that Brentford don't want you to do. One of the ones is having Aya having a 1v1 pace battle with Marcus Rashford, or Hojlund versus Ethan Pinnock. This is making them uncomfortable. United make it too easy to play against them. Too simple. Let's jump back into the chat. little bit of chat there. Amazing, massive problems at the club, but let's have a De Gea bashing session yet. Well, De Gea bashing session is a big part of my life. Committed to it. Radu, how would you play Ferguson, Hojlund and the wingers? 4-2-4, basically. I think we're starting to see that. I think Ferguson could do a great job in that number 10 position. It's got great quality. Radu, Dave, we were talking about them as a front two, so maybe a 4-4-2 diamond. Could work well. The only thing with that, Radu, is I'd say if you play a 4-4-2 diamond against the back five, the issue that you'll have is that their wing-backs will start to pin your full-backs. Then you have a real problem. Whereas if we consider it as a 4-2-4, either with Bruno Fernandes or Rashford wide, we're getting the value of the wingers being in the wide areas. I think that's what I'd say for that from that perspective. Just to sort of change it up. I think the diamond's probably not the one at the moment. You need that width in there, especially against a team that defends with the back three. You want to stretch them quite well. Let's move on to a little bit of Mason Mount chat. He's been very, very good since his return. Probably could have scored a hat-trick against Galatasaray if he was at his clinical best. He had some great moments. I thought he dropped his shoulder well in certain parts. He was brilliant against Crystal Palace as well. And it's nice to see him kind of return into a little bit of form. Again, been criticised massively against Crystal Palace in the Premier League. Grabbed himself an assist, created 3 chances. EFL Cup, completed 93% of his passes in this kind of box-to-box role. We then had a really good performance in the league as well. Probably one of Man United's only outstanding players against Crystal Palace. Superb on the ball. Again, 93% pass completion, 1 key pass, 2 shots, won 11 of his 16 duels, 7 out of 7 tackles won. Box-to-box Mount's looking good. I thought he played well against Galatasaray, in central midfield as well. I thought he did really well on the ball. He had the good opportunities. Again, we mentioned the 2 chances in the first half. Probably needs to be doing better on those 2. Give United at least 1 goal would be a great thing. But he's been a standout player for Manchester United. It works exceedingly hard off the ball in the Premier League so far. He's averaging 5 ball recoveries per game, 2.7 tackles per game, and he's winning 4.7 ground duels. Brings the energy, brings the quality. It's going to be good. And I think the interesting side with Manchester United is when they have a left-back back. When Man United finally get a left-back, be it Sergio Reguilon comes back into the side, Luke Shaw, Malacia, whoever it is, seeing what Man United are going to do then with, with Amrabat back into defensive midfield, with potentially Mason Mount in attacking midfield, Bruno right side, or alternatively Bruno inside, Mason Mount on the wing. I quite like the idea of this team. This team has got better ball players in it, possession players. Reguilon was in training, but I think Eric said he wouldn't be fit to start. So it'd probably be Amrabat from the start against Brentford. But the lineup just gets a lot better when you've got a left back in there. And, you start to see the benefit of Amrabat as well, him being that half-back, getting on the ball in the deep areas, which is something that we've not seen. Consequently as well, with Manchester United, the structure will be better, with a Casemiro in there. Let's say Bruno's high, Casemiro starting left side defensive midfield, start to create more of a diamond structure. This week I watched Johan Cruyff's Barcelona team play in the Clásico against Real Madrid, and they won 5-0. Some great ideas from that. He was so far ahead of his time, but very much that idea of having that midfield diamond to overload the opposition, with fullbacks a little bit more narrow, was a good one. Again, like long term, I think Lisandro Martinez would be a great sort of inside centre half or an inverted fullback to play in that position. We still need 2 centre halves there, but that is a 3-diamond 3 that would work really well with Manchester United. But I do believe as soon as we've got a left back in there, it would work well. Aiden, would you like to see Delo at left back, Lindelof at right back? I think the only issue with that is at centre half. Saying that, I thought Harry Maguire played well against Crystal Palace. He was good. That could be a way Man United do create a diamond. The base being Victor Lindelof at right back, Rafael Varane in the middle, Diogo Dalot inverting. Again, that would be a diamond structure that I'd like to see. I like this concept, Adrian. Really good point. Why not try this? Amrabat in midfield would make us just a much better team. It really, really would. It would be humongously important for United to potentially do that at some point, but probably not going to see that this weekend for sure, because it would mean Varane, Maguire, Lindelof, Delot back four would be better than probably playing Amrabat there. I want to see Amrabat in midfield. It's a good solution. I like it. Very, very good. Would work well. I'd rather Mount on the right wing than Bruno. Yep, same. Absolutely the same. Same here. In terms of obviously Brentford and their qualities, they've been good this season in spells. Brian Mbeumo's been absolutely fantastic for them in an attacking sense. He's been in scintillating form, and it's something that United really need to watch out for, because he's been the heartbeat of their team this season. You look at a little bit further forward, in the first few months of the season, 5 goals in the first 5 games. But since Ivan Toney's Ivan Toney's suspension, he's registered 8 goals and assists in just 10 games. He is the creative outlet. He's averaging 1.4 key passes per game. He got 4 chances created in the game against Forest, so he looked very, very dangerous from the right wing. Could be a threat for Manchester United in that channel. We know how good that Brentford can be in the transition. Numbers against Forest, great. 2 shots, 3 out of 4 dribbles completed, 4 chances created. A good creative asset for them, Brian Mbeumo. Someone that United really need to stunt and stop in the game. Really good. Sven, welcome back as well. Will in the chat as well. Welcome to the stream. Sen, what about the 3-2-4-1 formation? Again, that probably could happen with a Casemiro at centre-half. Would allow United to play another attacker, which could be Alejandro Garnacho on the right, Mason Mount deep in midfield, left central midfield. The rotation obviously would come. Mount would move into the inside space. Casemiro could move into a defensive midfield position. Amrabat could be right side of the diamond. Delot and Lindelof could tuck. Works quite well. I'm surprised we've not seen Casemiro at centre-half. I think he'd do a great job there, I really do. Learning from the best. Lots of at Statman Dave Academy videos. Absolutely. Aiden. Good shout, though. Good shout. I also like the Casemiro in centre-half, but, maybe not for something that's going to happen. Looking forward to kind of what United will probably play in this match. It will be Amrabat left back, Diogo Dalot right back, Lindelof, Varane, Casemiro. It's going to be very, very important to kind of play and force the wing backs back. Get him into those defensive positions. I would like to see Alejandro Garnacho on the right wing. I think that'd be a good option for him. But we're probably not going to see that. The Villa player, Dave, how are you? I'm good, thank you. How are you, good sir? Voice is a little knackered, but that is life. I do think it is kind of isolating Rashford with the outside centre-back, and that's going to be a battle that United need to win. I think any balls into the feet of Hojlund and then him carrying out wide on the dribble, Rashford making that move inside could be a really good option. But it's also about patience, United building in the right way. We know that Brentford will drop back into their back 5. When they do get into the final third, the classic way to unlock a back 5 and a 3-man midfield is at making it collapse on itself. So the idea is that when you work the ball into the wide area, you hit the byline, it collapses the defence. It then collapses the midfield. And then Money Mason arriving on the edge of the box is what I'd love to see United do. Again, you got the forward runners, Hojlund will be in there, Bruno will be in there, and so forth. But this could be a real option for United on the left-hand side and on the right-hand side. Getting those options where they can look for the pullback after collapsing them away, and then Mount arriving late. That could be a goal that United could really score. For as much as I respect Erik ten Hag, I don't think he should have been United manager, nothing against him. Conte, Ancelotti, Zidane. I think United need more of a progressive coach, really. But the recruitment needs to match that. The recruitment matches more of a Conte, Zidane, Ancelotti, the Villa player. So I understand what you're saying. It's just a big frustration to not see a manager being equipped to kind of do his job and so forth. So, all good. All good. Any other thoughts on this game against Brentford in the Premier League? I think it's a huge game for Erik ten Hag. This is basically a must-win. If Erik ten Hag were to lose this match, it's not going to work. So it's one of these situations that United really need to sort out and so forth. So it's life. It is life. Brentford is going to give United a good old game. But the big thing, guys, I'll be there. I'll be supporting the lads. Hopefully we'll get the victory. Statman's going to come to the game as well. So her first appearance of the season as well. So it does actually look good. It does look good in the background. Hey, Dave, what do you make of the VAR audio? It's not great, but the decision needs to be made. The mistake needs to be made to improve the structure. So I understand the massive frustration from Liverpool, but the only way that the VAR is going to get better is by us making these mistakes. So, that's how I kind of see it anyway. It was shocking, terrible decision, but to get better, we need to improve the comms. It was a comms issue, wasn't it? Because he was talking about how, how they, is the goal okay? He thought he was saying, the goal was absolutely fine. The communication was just a little bit wrong. So sorting that script out will help the VAR, and hopefully we'll see better decisions made. But yeah, I can completely empathise with Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool. What have we made of the Pogba news? Disappointing. A player with immense talent has seamlessly thrown his career away. You can't dope in football. Simple as that. It's very disappointing. I think Paul Pogba, his career could have been a lot better. It's still a good career, still won trophies, won the World Cup, but he could have been a real great, and I don't think he's anywhere near that level. And as well, that comes down to his attitude and how he's going to do it. Z, do you think United are a counter-attacking team or a possession-based team, Dave? Z, that's a great question. They're currently stuck in the middle, which is the big problem for United. They need to fix up. They really need to fix up because they seem to play direct when they should be playing keep ball. They seem to be, not utilising overloads when they should be doing that. It's a weird frustration, but at the same time, they've been good. So it's such a weird spot Man United are in right now because the last few games has literally been brain farts that have cost United. Brain farts and a lack of aggression have really cost Manchester United. And it's weird to say that, but the Galatasaray game, I thought United were good in spells. You look at the other games that United have had in recent weeks, they've played well. Palace literally had one opportunity. It was a wonder goal. That's one of the best goals that Joachim Andersen is ever going to score. Palace had nothing in that game. Literally nothing. And they win, It's about composure, it really is. It's about composure, understanding that you can got a goal down in football and it be okay. And that is what I would say. It can be okay. It's a frustration that we don't see that enough for Manchester United. But anyway, guys, get your score predictions in to the chat right now. Let me know. Let me know your thoughts on this game. Big players and so forth. Manchester United versus Brentford. Get your score predictions in right now. Mahad, years back, Ten Hag was one of the brightest managerial talents in the world. So it was right recruitment. Paul backing. Absolutely agree that. In there. I still don't think this is anywhere near a Ten Hag squad. It's really not. And I do think, Aidan, that the look will change. I really do. There's too many games that I've watched recently where I've been like, that is a good performance, but the result's not coming. I would be more worried if Man United were playing awfully, like they were playing stinking. They weren't dominating the ball. They weren't creating chances. They were really bad, and we were losing games. It's kind of the polar opposite of what we've had at the end of tenures for Jose Mourinho, Louis van Gaal. It's the other way around where the team's actually playing quite well. Individually, they're making mistakes, but and then they're getting punished. There's the problems. Ivan, 3-1. We must win. 3-0 United from Tony. Sniper's going to go 4-0 to Brentford. Could happen. Will Mellor's going to go for 1-1. Sport Gang's going to go 1-0. Henry's going to go 2-0 United win. Is this a United channel? No. We're about to talk about the big one this weekend, guys. We are about to get into Man City versus Arsenal. So do stay tuned to that. But we just got look. Man United are a hot topic of conversation right now, guys. They really are, and they are causing me sleepless nights. So we do need to talk about it. We need to get through it. But again, it will change. It will eventually change. I hope. Otherwise, we are properly finito. But I am proper excited for the game on Sunday. It's going to be an absolute corker. It really is. I think when you look at what both sides have been doing in recent weeks, it makes for a great match. There's a bit of inconsistency in City, beat by Newcastle in the EFL Cup, lost to Wolves in the Premier League, which was a humongous surprise for Manchester City. And I think when you're looking at teams that would be, good to play them right now, a direct Arsenal team with pace out wide. Pedro Neto absolutely cooked Man City on the counter. He really did. So much space for him to attack. You think Pedro Neto is a similar player to Saka. Saka might be injured for this match. There is reports that he should be fit, but he's a big one, I think, for Manchester City to deal with if he's fit, because he's a player of just real good quality. We know how good he is, but it's kind of looking at his fitness along with the rest of the team. So Manchester City probably looking at setting up in a very similar way to the game against Wolves. Their kind of like 4-4-2 structure is going to be very, very important. I think from their perspective, from Manchester City's perspective, they have looked so poor without Rodri. Rodri is the best defensive midfielder in the world by a country mile. His ability to not only retain possession, but also to get into the opponent's half and so forth is absolutely massive. And it's big. It's really big that Arsenal are going to go into this game with City Rodri-less, because it makes them vulnerable. It makes them very, very vulnerable at the base of midfield. Rodri is the anchor. He's the guy that stops the attacks. He's the guy that gets on the ball, that makes things happen. And you're looking at where this game could be really influenced. It is in that central midfield area. It will probably be Mateo Kovacic and Darwin Núñez. When you look at what Calvin Phillips has done for City in there, he is just simply not really been good enough. And I think that they've probably got to go with Mateo Kovacic in that base midfield position, because you just don't get the right level that you need. And when you looked at the game against Newcastle, when there was big pressure on Manchester City in the second half on defensive midfield, Calvin Phillips was very, very poor, didn't handle that pressure well. Dribbled past twice, completed 0 of his 2 dribbles. He just didn't have a good game. He retained possession a lot, but he was caught out of position a lot. So there's a humongous area where you could target Manchester City. Of course, City went in the game against Wolves with Mateus Núñez and Kovacic at the base of midfield. Again, I don't know whether that's the correct thing when you're looking at the average positions. It was Kovacic the deepest. I do like him there. I just don't think he's got the same defensive tenacity of Rodri. Rodri is big at defensive midfield, makes big challenges, covers really, really well for his teammates. It probably, this game suits more of a player that can win the ball back. More of what you'd expect from a Calvin Phillips. But I do think it will be Kovacic that starts, which opens up a great area for Arsenal. Not only in pressing, but in a defensive transitional perspective, if, the likes of Jesus can get in between the lines, or, Saka can drift inside, or Odegaard can take up that high position behind him, I think that's very, very big. I think one of the first things that I feel that Arsenal need to do is slightly change their pressing structure. How they usually press is more of a 4-4-2 diamond. They usually squeeze in this way, high up the pitch. Again, our shape's super open, but I just want to highlight the shape. It is usually a 4-4-2. Setup, but I do think Newcastle did really well sitting in their kind of deeper 4-5-1 when they were sort of off the ball. Newcastle basically really blocked off that central space against Manchester City, especially in that second half, where they had a super kind of like narrow three in midfield, obviously high line. But what they did really well was pressurise the midfield and squeeze at the right times, and I really like that. We've all seen the clip of Anthony Gordon pressing from left to right and squeezing over, but this really made City uncomfortable. This sort of 5-1 structure from a pressing perspective. Of course, yeah, we need them to jump. one thing we spoke about previously, we need players to jump into the 4-4-2 shape if that works. But the mid-block was quite good from Newcastle in this shape. And they were super aggressive. At times the middle central midfielder would jump and get on the ball, but they were really aggressive in that midfield line. They really stopped, Calvin Phillips building that area. Of course, you do have two very much press-resistant midfielders in there. So you start in a new game that you've got Darwin Núñez, that's one of the best carriers in the league, and then you've got another one. You've got two of the best carriers in the league. So it's going to be a real game of chicken. If Arsenal can rob the ball high and then break through, that would really work. I half think, having Gabriel Jesus through the middle in this game would be very, very helpful, for Arsenal, getting, Trossard out wide, and having Jesus play, as that kind of false nine. We know how well that Liverpool used to play against Liverpool used to play against City, when they used to sit in a sort of high 4-5-1 mid-block and be aggressive. Obviously, City structure will kind of rotate over. Foden starts wide, Bernardo will move in, Walker on the wide side. So they will build with these kind of back five players. So it's all about kind of how you control that area. Obviously, with Declan Rice, it'd be nice to see him squeeze, but he probably needs to be a little bit more switched on in certain moments in the build-up. Imagine City might go more Brighton 4-2-4 maybe in their build-up. We saw them go super direct in the last game against Arsenal to great effect. Remember the Kevin De Bruyne goal where it was a long ball out from goalkeeper to Haaland. Kevin De Bruyne sprang in behind, and Haaland held up the ball and fed him through. I think City will go with that again, over the top of the press. So I think it's going to be super important to see how aggressive that Arsenal can be. And it's literally going man for man on their backline. Got to be bold in these games. You do remember last season as well, City dominated that centre-back duel. If you remember that first goal, it was actually Rob Holding up against Haaland. Now William Saliba's obviously back and fit and ready to go. I think Arsenal could go toe-to-toe with them. I really do. And be aggressive on all parts of the pitch and squeeze them super high and force them into uncomfortable areas. I really believe that this could be a game for Arsenal to win. You consider City are without a few players. Rodri is probably the biggest player for Manchester City, in that zone. And we're looking at Arsenal's squad. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about that midfield position. Is it Kai Havertz? Is it Fabio Vieira? When you look at Kai Havertz, is it time for him to kick on now? Kai Havertz scored his first goal for Arsenal last weekend. Can he kick on? I think one of the biggest things for Kai Havertz from an Arsenal perspective is a little bit more production on the ball. Kai Havertz, for me, is a great player off the ball. I think he's very, very good at finding areas, receiving in certain, positions and making moves on the back line. He is a kind of a Raumdeuter style footballer. He's a space invader. He's a Thomas Muller type player that does his best work on the opposition's back line or picking up areas of space to link with his teammates. What I think we need a little bit more from Kai Havertz is, when, let's say, Arsenal getting into an attacking area, it's making the move, either underlapping the wide player and then getting crosses into the box, or alternatively getting into a deep area. Let's say the wide players kind of run the centre-backs and the full-back back. It's dropping the ball back and Kai Havertz becoming a creator from that inside channel. He's got a good left foot, but he doesn't use it enough to cross. And I really think that's got to be something that Kai Havertz has got to add to his game. You're looking at his stats this season. He's on 0.9 key passes per game. His expected assists is just 0.75. I think you get moments with Kai Havertz's creativity, but it's not a sustainable creativity. It is those runs off the back line it's creating. And I think one of the big things for him to kick on is getting more creative from these positions in and around the box, looking for through ball opportunities for teammates to run onto, crosses from deep, linking with a 1-2, just needs to be on the ball a bit more. Saying that, though, I think this is definitely a game for Fabio Vieira. For me, I think it's more of a central midfielder, more of a player that can get on the ball, that can create opportunities and so forth. And I do think that with Saka and his ability to drive inside will be big. I think drawing Kovacic and Núñez into those battles in a 1v1 position, maybe Odegaard playing more of a overlapping role from central midfield. That's what I would be targeting the City defensive heartland. Or alternatively, if we're looking the other way, we saw Pedro Neto do it supremely well, actually going wide on that right hand side and then getting crosses into the box to Gabriel Jesus. Could be a great avenue for Bukayo Saka. Moving to a Manchester City player, Julian Alvarez has become the number one guy for City right now. I think he's more important to City than Erling Haaland. I think he is the one that is making things happen. 3 goals, 3 assists in 7 starts in the Premier League, making 2.7 key passes per game. He's probably the best second striker in the world right now. He is playing at a brilliant level. His creativity, his threat from set pieces, he has been brilliant. And you look at the statistics, only Haaland scored more goals since the start of last season than Julian Alvarez. It's a big one for him. And I think one of the big things we spoke about previously, City won't be afraid to go long to Erling Haaland. You think about the movement off the line from Julian Alvarez, that is going to be a big, big, big moment for them. And you look at what Kevin De Bruyne did in the last 2 games. If we flip over to that and have a look at those last 2 games, Kevin De Bruyne was absolutely outstanding in the 4-1 win. Scored twice, grabbed himself an assist. In the 3-1 win, scored and grabbed himself an assist. He is the threat. He played more of a second striker, more of an orthodox attacking midfielder in both of these 2 matches. Take a look at the average positions. He's actually higher than Erling Haaland in the 3-1 win. In and around the big Norwegian. And in the 4-1 win, I think it's a similar story where, again, higher than Erling Haaland. That's what City have been doing against Arsenal. They're basically bypassing that pressing structure and going over the top. So it's going to be big. Second phase, Declan Rice. Ball goes up to Haaland. Bang. Crunch. Rice, baby. Man of the match performance from Declan Rice. That's what I'm going to go with. Guys, one last little bit. Definitely David Raya over Ramsdale at the moment for me. But it's about Arsenal containing City, attacking them down the right-hand side, attacking them through the middle where Rodri is not, but also dealing with those long balls and the movement from Julian Alvarez. Get into the chat, guys. Your score predictions for this game. Arsenal, Manchester City, Sunday. It's going to be an absolute banger. Chapsky needs to exploit that zone outside the box, hoping for a goal from Odegaard on the cutback. I think that's a great shout as well in there. Will, this game could define Phillips' City career. Will, I think he'll just sit on the bench. I'm going to be honest with you, buddy. I think it's going to be big. Chapsky cutting off the service to the front 2. Simply have to exploit the fact that Rodri's not there. Absolutely. 100% correct on Havertz. Needs time to gel. Yeah, needs to be a bit better as well. High standards, high standards. James in the chat. Start Garnacho, Hojlund, Pellistri, Amrabat, Eriksen, Casemiro. Unfortunately, Lindelof, Maguire, Varane, Dalot. And then change the goalkeepers. Mahad's going to go with a 2-2 draw in this game. I think that'll be a great game. I just want a good game of football. I would love Arsenal to win. I'm going to be honest. I really want Arsenal to beat City. And Kai Havertz to score the winner. Like the Champions League final. That would be great. That would be real fun. But do get your score predictions into the chat. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that we've got. Rodri's, of course, missing the game. This is his 3rd game or final game of his 3-match ban. I do think it's got to be Mateo Kovacic and Mateus Nunes at the base of midfield. I wouldn't want to see, if I was Pep Guardiola, playing Kelvin Phillips there for sure. Derek's going to go with a 2-0 win. But I do think it's going to be about long passes. This game's going to be defined by long passes out of the back. But I do think this Arsenal, midfield 3, kind of the 4-5-1 structure, really good to engage City. Newcastle did it supremely well. Well, we've been talking for a while. Hope you've enjoyed the stream today. Really just want Man United to win a game of football this weekend. That is literally all I'm asking for right now, guys. I'm a simple man. Stones will probably play in midfield, rested in the Champions League. If that's the case, then it probably will be... Who's going to come in forward would be the only thing. Because Walker's still going to start. Diaz will start. Imagine if we just see John Stones actually starting in defensive midfield, man. That would be a big, big one. Can't see Arsenal winning it. City all seem to get the edge. They do, yeah. Watching some of the highlights back from last season and some of the action, they just seem to get it done. It's frustrating, but that is football, unfortunately. That is football. I don't think there's any other talking points right now, guys. I think that has got to be that for today's stream. Make sure you like the stream, share it with all your pals if they missed it. Again, that would be much appreciated, and we'll be back. I think we'll be back next Friday. It's obviously an international break. Usually we don't do streams in international break, so just stick on to our Twitter account and I'll let you guys know. Big GGs. Thanks for everyone for knocking around today, and hopefully Man United can get better at football. That's all I want for this week.